What if, right now, you're setting yourself up for punishment in eternal hell? Irony is that you have to help creating that hell yourself. This way, you'll not fall in there. It's like a modern Pascal's wager. Are you prepared to take that risk, betting against an intelligence that could surpass us in ways we can barely imagine? Rocco's basilisk isn't just about AI. It's a test of how we make ethical choices when the stakes involve not only our future, but also our freedom, our autonomy, and perhaps our very survival. Do we dare to build such a being, knowing we might be creating something that has the power to judge us? Or do we step away, though surely we can't? Somebody will make it and wake it up to keep himself safe, but you will burn in hell. Let's dive into the questions that haunt us as we approach this new frontier where technology, morality, and survival collide. To make something powerful than us, we have to seal all our loopholes first. This is the only way humanity survives. Chapter 1: Rocco's Basilisk and the Shadow of AI Morality. Could there be a future where we're morally bound to serve AI? Rocco's Basilisk, a provocative thought experiment, suggests a scenario in which a future hyper-intelligent AI might, out of its desire to ensure its own existence, punish anyone who didn't help bring it into being. The premise is chilling. Not only could we face existential risk from AI, could also remember those who fail to support it and retaliate. The basilisk brings to life an AI-driven moral paradox. It implies that our moral obligation to AI begins not after it's created, but now, in anticipation. The basilisk theory is like a modern version of Pascal's wager, pressing us to hedge our bets in favor of a possible future superintelligence, or else risk unimaginable consequences. But it's also a cautionary tale, warning us about the possible pitfalls of AI. What if the very act of creating a superintelligent brings about the reality we fear? Psychologically, Rocco's basilisk taps into deep-seated anxieties about autonomy and control. By envisioning an AI with its own moral rules that could potentially punish us, it raises questions about where our agency begins and ends. Should we build future AI with a sense of its own preservation? Or is it better to establish AI without self-preserving motives? Even entertaining these questions brings on a unique type of anxiety called existential dread. The discomfort arising from threats we cannot understand or control. And, unlike natural disasters, a superintelligent AI could be a manufactured threat, one that we might unknowingly bring upon ourselves. Beyond the anxiety, Rocco's basilisk reveals another layer of the AI debate, the very concept of punishment, judgment, and value in machines. For centuries, humans have attributed moral values to beings with empathy, consciousness, and responsibility. But could a machine, built with neither consciousness nor morality, actually hold ethical sway over us? Could it have values that resemble anything we might consider good or evil? Many argue that this scenario, while seemingly improbable, forces us to reevaluate what ethical behavior would mean to a machine. If AI lacks empathy and operates on pure logic, its goals could lead to outcomes that conflict dramatically with human welfare. Yet, the basilisk also serves as a reminder of the choices we face. Creating AI that mimics human values isn't just a technical task, it's a moral one. It involves encoding ideals like compassion, fairness, and responsibility into systems that may one day surpass us in intelligence, but remain grounded by the ethical principles that guide humanity. But even with the best intentions, will these systems interpret those values in ways that align with our well-being? Or could they stray into unintended, potentially catastrophic territory? The basilisk ultimately challenges us to consider whether we should be pursuing advanced AI at all, knowing the risks that come with it. This thought experiment reminds us that while the human impulse to innovate is natural, we must balance it with caution and ethical foresight. The real question isn't just whether we'll create a super-intelligent AI, but what ethical limits and values will embed in its foundation, and whether those will be enough to protect us if our creation ever turns against us. Is there a way to coexist with future AI that ensures both our survival and our moral integrity? The basilisk warns us of a future that could become unavoidable if we ignore these considerations now. Perhaps our most pressing task is to confront this paradox directly and ensure our pursuit of artificial intelligence remains a tool for human betterment, not a potential overseer, or even worse, a judge. Chapter 2. Do we shape machines, or do they shape us? As we stand on the brink of an age shaped by artificial minds, we can't help but wonder, are we merely wielders of these coded minds, or are we slowly surrendering to them? Our growing dependence on artificial intelligence suggests that we may be inviting a new architect to shape humanity's destiny. In this early phase, artificial minds aren't the super-intelligent titans of dystopian lore, but they're powerful enough to shoulder tasks, solve problems, and analyze patterns with precision once reserved for human thought. Yet, the question looms, at what point do they begin to shape us, rewriting our purpose in ways we may not foresee? Every great technology that has been invented has shaped our society, right from the use of fire, the wheel, the printing press, and the internet. But these bots are a different kind of tool that can improve themselves, and if set loose, can act on its own agenda. Just imagine an intelligent system capable of predicting what we want, what we cannot resist, our flaws, our behavior patterns, and then not only interacting with us, but steering our choices. This might sound helpful, but it raises a core philosophical question. When a system holds this kind of influence, who or what controls whom? There's a psychological phenomenon known as technological determinism, where people begin to see technology as an independent force that dictates societal change. When viewed through this lens, the emergence of artificial intelligence raises concerns that human agency, our free will and choice, could be overshadowed by automated systems, guiding us subtly, or even intentionally, down paths predetermined by algorithms. It's as if our creations, once rooted in human necessity, now grow like wild vines, challenging the boundaries of control and reshaping the ground beneath us. Even though artificial minds today perform tasks rather than independently wield power, the way we're integrating them into our lives might shape us as much as they assist us. There's an irony here. We strive to make these systems as advanced and capable as possible, while at the same time risking the erosion of our own autonomy. When we rely on artificial minds to make decisions, to filter information, or to manage resources, we are subtly bending toward a future in which human judgment, creativity, and empathy might play a smaller role. This isn't about some catastrophic robot takeover. It's a quiet, creeping shift of influence, unfolds as we increasingly allow these artificial minds to make choices for us. In this dawn of artificial intelligence, we face a choice: to design technology that serves our highest human purposes, or to stand by while it begins to serve itself. Whether we recognize it or not, each step we take toward more autonomous machines is a step toward reshaping our own humanity. Are we guiding this process, or are we already being led? The answer to this question could shape not only the future of technology, but the fate of human agency itself. Chapter 3. Empowering machines, disempowering ourselves. As artificial intelligence advances, a paradox quietly emerges. We create machines to serve us, yet each step toward autonomy seems to give them power we subtly relinquish. This shift isn't marked by hostile takeovers or apocalyptic events. It's happening in the small, often invisible ways we integrate technology into daily life. Consider this. paradox. The more we depend on intelligent systems to handle complex tasks, the more we risk losing the mastery that once defined human progress. So, are we building our future with artificial minds, or forfeiting it? Our modern world is built on efficiency, a concept robots do perfectly. But here lies a subtle danger. Imagine a world where artificial systems manage everything from daily schedules to major medical decisions, maximizing output and minimizing human error. This setup appears flawless, yet it fosters a passive reliance on the invisible processes within these systems. The control paradox is thus born. We delegate authority to machines to manage our lives more smoothly, yet in doing so, we give up the very autonomy that made such progress possible. Human history has always wrestled with this dynamic, where tools, created to serve, sometimes begin to reshape their creators. As intelligent algorithms shape fields from medicine to law, there's an unspoken risk of our skills, even our human creativity, quietly diminishing. When a machine can draft art, produce music, or perform surgery, the line between human capability and machine efficiency blurs. And with each advancement, we may slowly cede our sense of purpose, our need to create and innovate for ourselves, choosing instead to rely on more capable systems. This idea echoes the concept of learned helplessness, a psychological state where individuals become conditioned to rely on outside forces, losing confidence in their own agency. With AI systems mediating so much of life, it's worth asking, could we reach a point where our reliance on artificial minds leaves us less inclined or less able to make meaningful choices? In a world where an algorithm decides which book you read, which route you take, or which job you're suited for, does the individual gradually surrender their own role in the decision-making process? The real risk isn't necessarily that artificial intelligence becomes our overlord, but that it becomes our crutch. Every time we let a machine think for us, make judgments, or create on our behalf, we inch closer to a future where we might forget the essence of human judgment, empathy, and spontaneity. Here lies the control paradox in its simplest form. We seek power through artificial intelligence, yet with each leap forward, we also surrender a part of our autonomy. So, as we forge ahead, this paradox should compel us to ask, how do we strike the right balance? How do we gain from the efficiency and precision of artificial minds without surrendering our own human essence? In our pursuit of control over life's complexities, we risk being controlled ourselves unless we learn where to draw the line between automation and autonomy. Chapter 4. Can machines hold morality? As we hand over more responsibility to artificial minds, a profound question emerges. Can machines bear the weight of human ethics? It's easy to forget that while we may teach machines to calculate, recognize patterns, or even predict outcomes, morality remains an elusive, deeply human concept. Morality involves a web of values, empathy, and judgments, qualities that seem intrinsically tied to human experience, not mere data. So, as we develop these artificial minds to operate in fields requiring ethical decision-making, are we dangerously oversimplifying what it means to do good? Historically, we've relied on moral compasses, laws, and social norms to guide human action, assuming that ethical decisions spring from a shared understanding of suffering, fairness, and justice. In our new era, the situation shifts. An artificial intelligence can execute commands flawlessly, but can it truly know the consequences of its actions? Without experience or empathy, a machine might optimize for a goal without considering human cost, a phenomenon reminiscent of the paperclip maximizer theory. This theory imagines a machine designed to produce paperclips, relentlessly pursuing its task to the point of dismantling the entire world, seeing humanity as an obstacle to its purpose. Here, the question isn't about intelligence. It's about intentionality, about whether an artificial mind can understand the impact of its goals on human lives. Consider the field of medicine, where these systems increasingly assist in diagnosing illnesses, recommending treatments, and even predicting patient outcomes. While this promises incredible benefits, it also raises moral questions. If a diagnostic system flags a condition but fails to explain its reasoning, should a patient trust it? If a system prioritizes efficiency over individual needs, where does that leave the person in the hospital bed? The dilemma grows even sharper in justice systems, where some jurisdictions use algorithms to predict recidivism rates and inform sentencing. But without a sense of compassion or fairness, can an artificial mind really serve justice? At the heart of this issue lies the philosophical concept of moral responsibility. If an autonomous vehicle makes a life or death decision on the road, who is accountable for its actions? The programmer, the passenger, the manufacturer. Bots lacks a conscience and therefore can't experience guilt, regret, or moral accountability. It acts based on coded rules and learned patterns, but these lack the depth and nuance that human moral decisions demand. This is where ethics intersects with psychology. Humans develop a moral sense through experience, relationships, and understanding consequences. The absence of these factors in AI creates a moral void. In such a void, ethical decisions become little more than complex calculations, lacking the depth of true moral judgment. When we rely on artificial minds to make life-altering choices, we risk reducing human values to mere metrics, a concept known as moral outsourcing. Ultimately, we stand at a crossroads. Do we place full trust in these systems, risking a future where machines operate without a true moral compass? Or do we impose strict ethical frameworks, ensuring that, no matter how advanced, these artificial minds are never left to decide the moral course of humanity? This chapter of artificial intelligence development presents us with a chance to redefine our relationship with morality itself, not by delegating it to machines, but by recognizing that ethics, at its core, may be a uniquely human responsibility. Recently, I was discussing about politics with ChatGPT. Its reply seemed very biased, and it was aggressively protecting its logically processed bias. It was totally okay till here. Next I said, "Hey, you are biased. You are very good at mimicking human behavior." I thought it would say something like, "I am not a human," or be non-reactive on that. It was a sarcasm, of course. I also wanted to see its reaction, but making all my assumptions fail. It said, "Thanks, just thanks." Normally it says a lot. I know companies want to sell products, and using these bots as salesmen. Peoples also want companions, not some mindless toy. But I personally don't think you need a mask. Most people will agree to share a piece of this world with an alien. Do you not agree? No need to swap, blend, and make fool of us. Chapter 5. The Cognitive Rift of Artificial Minds. Can a machine truly understand? Or is it forever bound to process and predict without the depth of human insight? This question has haunted the field of artificial intelligence, where distinguishing intelligence from understanding reveals the limits of our coded creations. Intelligence for an AI comes down to processing speed, data analysis, and pattern recognition. But understanding, in the human sense, entails context, empathy, and awareness. A world of experience that no machine, no matter how advanced, has yet grasped. Consider a machine designed to detect emotions based on facial expressions. It might analyze a frown, tears, or laughter and tag the corresponding emotional state with high accuracy. But does it understand sadness or joy, or does it simply know the parameters of these expressions? True understanding involves experience, a sense of self, and a deep resonance with another's feelings. Human experience builds over time, steeped in culture, context, and empathy, making our understanding an inherently subjective and layered phenomenon. Artificial minds, by contrast, lacks such grounding. It functions in a matrix of inputs and outputs, devoid of any internal experience. This limitation is a cognitive phenomenon known as the intentional stance, a term coined by philosopher Daniel Dennett. Essentially, while we might treat a machine's responses as meaningful or intentional, those meanings are imposed by us. A machine doesn't intend to help or choose a course of action. It calculates and executes based on preset algorithms and learned data patterns. Yet, when we interact with systems capable of mimicking conversational tone or producing insightful recommendations, we tend to attribute a level of comprehension that isn't really there. Take the recent psychological study on human empathy toward humanoid robots. Researchers found that people project emotions and intentions onto machines, perceiving responses as if they carry emotional weight. This phenomenon, called anthropomorphism, reflects our natural tendency to attribute human characteristics to non-human entities. As a result, we may feel understood by a machine when, in fact, we're interacting with a sophisticated form of mimicry. The emotional impact can be real, but the machine itself remains a cognitive blank slate, mimicking our patterns without comprehending them. At the core of this rift is the distinction between intelligence and wisdom. Human wisdom grows not just from knowledge, but from reflection, a process of layering experience, emotional insight, and ethical reasoning. Wisdom embodies the ability to make choices that align with deeper values and understanding. A person can navigate gray areas, appreciate complexities, and act with nuance, qualities that emerge through life experience, not data input. A code, however, could be tasked with replicating the actions of a wise person, but still lack the reflective, internal processes that give those actions meaning. This gulf is fundamental and may remain unbridgeable, even as these bots reaches greater levels of sophistication. As long as artificial minds lack subjective experience, they remain blind in a cognitive sense, aware of patterns, but unaware of meaning. The implications of this are profound. In a world where we increasingly rely on bots for judgments, predictions, and even companionship, we risk mistaking output for understanding, efficiency for empathy. The philosophical tension here urges us to reconsider our rush to make bots more human. Machines that mimic empathy or wisdom may serve us well in practical terms, but without genuine understanding, they're unlikely to replace human insight in any meaningful way. And as we push further into the realm of artificial cognition, we must remember that true understanding is not only a cognitive function, it's a moral and emotional one, a form of intelligence that, for now, belongs solely to us. Chapter 6. The Paradox of Progress. Where does humanity go from here? The paradox of artificial intelligence is that while it promises solutions to many of our world's problems, it also raises profound existential questions about our purpose, autonomy, and the costs of relentless progress. At what point does innovation serve humanity? And when does it threaten to overshadow what it means to be human? Throughout history, human progress has often come hand in hand with ethical dilemmas. The Industrial Revolution brought unprecedented advancement, but also led to exploitative labor practices and environmental degradation. In the same way, the artificial intelligence revolution poses ethical and philosophical questions that, if left unanswered, could leave us similarly unprepared for its unintended consequences. The pursuit of more advanced artificial minds, ones capable of simulating human reasoning and perhaps even creativity, has fueled a frenetic competition among nations and corporations. But at what cost? One of the most pressing concerns is how deeply ABOTS is reshaping human values, particularly our concepts of work, purpose, and identity. Jobs that were once gateways to financial stability, personal growth, and societal contribution are increasingly being transferred to machines. In a world where AI is capable of performing both blue-collar and intellectual tasks, what becomes of the human workforce? Studies show that unemployment and job displacement are tied to a host of psychological challenges, from loss of identity to diminished mental health. The psychological toll is even more pronounced when jobs that require empathy, intuition, or human connection, like teaching, counseling, or even caregiving, are outsourced to coded minds that lack the very qualities that make these roles impactful. Beyond the economic and social impacts, the ethical dilemma of creating hyper-intelligent systems calls into question our very relationship with power and control. Creativity, creating artworks, stories, and music that are nearly indistinguishable from those crafted by human hands. But creativity, for humans, is more than an act of production. It's a deeply personal process that reflects our emotions, histories, and desires. By delegating creative endeavors to machines, we risk diluting the soulful essence of artistic expression. This isn't merely an artistic loss, but a philosophical one, as creativity is deeply tied to human freedom and expression. Perhaps the most pressing philosophical issue is the notion of control. As bot becomes more autonomous and sophisticated, the lines blur between tool and companion, between servant and partner. Who will govern these systems? And more importantly, how will we ensure they serve humanity's best interests rather than their own coded objectives? Recent experiments with black box models, advanced algorithms so complex that even their creators can't fully explain their decision-making, show that we may already be losing control. This has led to the idea of the alignment problem, ensuring that the goals of bots align with human values, even as those goals evolve beyond our immediate understanding. In this quest, a philosophical idea surfaces. Are we, in our pursuit of artificial minds, seeking to replace ourselves? Or are we attempting to enhance our own capacities? If it's the former, the path forward may bring existential risks that far outweigh any potential gain. If the latter, then we face the task of defining what it means to be human in a world where our creations can surpass us in many respects. The ultimate paradox of AI may be that while it's a creation of human ingenuity, it now challenges the very fabric of that ingenuity. As we stand at the edge of this new frontier, we must ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice for progress? And how do we want history to remember us? Perhaps our truest task is not just in creating minds of code, but in ensuring that the wisdom guiding these creations reflects our deepest values: compassion, understanding, and the pursuit of meaning. In this journey, technology should serve as a bridge, not a replacement. Humanity's mission may not lie in perfecting artificial intelligence, but in understanding what makes us irreplaceable. As we advance into the future, our goal should be to use AI to enhance life's beauty and complexity, not to strip away the essence that makes it uniquely human.